Baldy, let's get to the brass tacks of things. I'm a huge 49ers fan, as you can see, and we're tired of Kyle Shanahan, and it just seems like he needs a change of scenery, Baldy, and I know you probably agree with me, so don't you feel like we here in San Francisco need to get rid of Kyle Shanahan for the betterment of our franchise, and maybe Kyle might be able to get some work in Chicago down the road if he's lucky.
Oh, okay. You're going to make that kind of trade, huh? I remember John Madden, he coached 10 years with the Raiders, and he said that any coach after 10 years, they just tune you out. 10 years is all you should stay in one place. He always believed that. Now, that's not a bad rule of thumb. I mean, Kyle's been there, 8 years? Like, it's not a bad rule of thumb to move on after, 8-10 years. But I don't think John Lynch is ready to move on from Kyle at this point. Well, I'll see him in Green Bay this weekend. I'll give you a better scouting report of what I see, but they weren't real impressive last week against Seattle.
Well, apparently there's a bunch of Niners fans that want him gone, so I'm just joining the parade with them, and I encourage them in their endeavors.
Okay.
Did Joe Quenneville say that after 10 years? Or was that – I don't know.
That's Phil Jackson.
Well, Carm's been here for 3 years, so we got 7 more to go.
Well,
that's right, buddy.
Phil Jackson, Joe Quenneville, John Madden. Yeah, these guys all won
Phil Jackson
championships.
Phil Jackson.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Baldy, just your overall reaction on what transpired yesterday. Sunday now. I feel like we've been talking. It just feels like it's running together at this point.
Well,
another heartbreaking game for the Bears. Came down to the field goal at the end. What did you see? What did you think?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: when a field goal is going to decide or win or loss, the block is coming. Like a lot of times, these guys don't rush hard. When it's an extra point, it's a field goal in the first quarter. They're not trying to block every kick. But when you're at the 28-yard line. And it's to go win the game. It's coming. Now, and you can tell where it's coming just by the lineup. Like, you could tell it was a middle block. So if you're Larry Borum, if you're Daly the snapper, whatever, like, aren't you just bracing yourself? It's coming. That guy Slayton weighs 350 pounds. Like, he's coming. Like, aren't you just anticipating it? Because that's the same thing that happened at Denver the week before against Kansas City. Like, it's coming. It's not an extra point in the first quarter. This is to win the game. I just don't understand being lifted out of there the way that they did. And, Brooks makes the block. Like, I don't know. Like, if you want to stop a guy from, blocking the kick, you can stop it. Like, it's just, you just got to anchor down and you can't get lifted out of there.
Well, and I wondered, I'm not sure how closely you looked at it, Baldy, but if you look at the film, I mean, and we've talked about Matt Pryor on this show many times. I know you know him, and I don't even know if it's his fault because he's so dang tall and big, but he's higher than Larry Borum is, who's playing right guard in the same thing. Yeah. And I just feel like that works against him in situations like that because, look, he had a hard matchup there. He's got multiple guys coming through that A-gap. They're pushing, which they're not supposed to do. The Bears sent it in the league and whatever, all that doesn't matter. But he looked high and late to me in that moment to be able to do what you're talking about and just stop.
But here's the rule. Like, and you're right. I mean, Matt is always going to have a hard time bending. He's 6'9". He's always going to have a hard time. 6'8", whatever. But you always protect inside out. Always. You always step inside, and everybody steps inside, and you protect inside first. That's, because the direct line to the kicker is straight ahead. So that's when you step, your weight is on your inside foot. And that's, you step inside, outside. I don't care if you're the end, you're the wing, you're the right tackle, you're the right guard. You always protect inside out on that particular play. Everybody that does extra point, field goal, protection team, you work in that stuff, at least walk through it or talk through it like every single day. It shouldn't be anything novel or new right now.
Well, my bigger issue, Baldy, beyond the blocked kick itself was the fact that they had 30 seconds left as they, before the play to run to the line of scrimmage. So your thoughts on that decision, because it wasn't revisionist history for me, for Adam Hoaxton here in studio. I was actually at the game. I was screaming, why are we not running a play here? What was your reaction as
I
that
thought the
unfolded?
same thing. I just believe in getting as close as you possibly can. And if you're going to run it, at least run it to the middle of the field. Don't run it the way they did, where they're on the hash. Like if you're going to run it to the middle of the field. But I was with you. I'm like, you never know. You break a tackle, you get a good block, you get a seam. The other day, the Chargers, they could have kicked a field goal to go win the game. And what did Harbaugh do? We're back to coaching here, right? Harbaugh ran another play and they scored a touchdown. And so I don't know. I always believe in, like, if you kick the field goal with 3 seconds, you kick it with 3. But I believe like you did. Like I want to run another play.
Let's zoom out here and go big picture, because all that matters is whether or not the Bears are pointing in the right direction with the quarterback. And I think they definitely took a step forward this week. Scored 19, should have been 22. And I was watching your Baldy breakdowns, and you honed in on the execution. Do you see an offensive game plan that is going to be figured out right away here, Baldy, or do you think the Bears are just, okay, this was baseline, it's going to go up from here?
Well, I'm not a big fan of my quarterback running 9 times. I mean, that's what Justin Fields did. Like, he ran for a lot of yards scrambling, but they had 4 design runs. Okay. You could, you could get a few first downs out of that for a few runs. I don't know if I want my quarterback like that. I guess everybody does it to some degree right now. Josh, Patrick, they are doing it to some degree. Justin Herbert's running more now. But I kind of like my quarterback to be able to stay in there and hang in there a little bit longer and to make these throws. I'd rather see him throw for 10 than run for 10. So, I'm not in love with it. I thought Thomas Brown did some good things. Obviously, you got the ball to DJ, and you got it to Rome. You got to get the ball to the wide receivers with more regularity than you did. You got it a couple times to Keenan. I thought it was a little better in the passing department. Design, I thought it was a little bit better. But yeah, the only thing missing really is, any deep shots. And I think you got to take your deep shots. That's how Green Bay won the game. They won the game basically on 2 deep shots to Christian Watson.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they can figure out a way to get those explosives going this week, because when you got a scheme like Brian Flores is going to bring, there's going to be a lot to sort out. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard on a rookie quarterback. But that being said, and Cole said this Cole Kmet was in here yesterday, and he said, the thing about that defense, though, is it leaves you kind of unsound on the back end. And so if you can exploit that, there could be some big opportunities this week.
Well, you're right. And Cole's not wrong. You have to be extremely patient. You can't turn it over. That's what they want. They want you to throw the ball into these hornets' nests. But there's going to be big plays to be made. There just is. But they don't always do this junk defense that Flores likes on 3rd down. They'll do it on 1st down. They'll mix and match at different times, depending on personnel, depending on field position, time of the clock. So you have to be prepared. They're going to test your protection all game long. And you're right. If you block it up, if you catch them in some sort of safety rotation where it's late, where they're disguising, you could get your shots. And you have to be a little patient with it, because they are there. And you got to keep your eyes in the right place. But they're going to test your protection. They want you to pack it in. They want you to max protect. Then they're going to drop these guys into these crazy zones of theirs. Josh Metellus, they're all over the place. They line up everywhere. But if you can block them up and still get guys out, still get 5 out or 4 out, you have a chance.
What are you seeing with the Bears pass rush, or lack thereof, Baldy?
I see that. On the big play to Watson for 60, they blitz both linebackers, right?
Yep.
So both TJ and Edwards, they both come. And it was a horrible blitz. It was horrible. Like, if you said to Green Bay, okay, let's work on max protection. Let's keep our back in. Let's keep our tight end in. All right, what would be the perfect place for these guys to come where we could go block them? That's what it looked like. There wasn't a twist. There wasn't an overload. It was so bland. I'm like, if you're going to send 6, like, somebody's got to come free. Like, nobody came free. And Jordan Love had all kinds of time. Obviously, Jalen fell down, and that looked right there. But still, like, you'd like to see Jordan Love get pressured a little bit more than he did on that particular play. But, outside of Dexter, sometimes inside, they're not getting a lot of one-on-one wins right now.
This, you could point to a million different directions for Matt Eberflus, but one of his saving graces was that he got the defense elevated. So it's kind of like amazing that, I mean, Montez Sweat isn't healthy. I was more putting it on the fact that his horses aren't there, but you're also underlining that they could scheme it better too.
Yeah. If you're going to send, I mean, they'll blitz a lot. You know, if you're going to send both linebackers at 2nd and 6, I think at that time, I mean, whether you want to blitz or not, I mean, whatever they did, they called it up. And so both linebackers come, and like there wasn't an ounce of creativity to it. They just rushed. And Green Bay just sat there. Josh Jacobs picked up one. You know, I mean, it looked pretty easy to go block them up. Like it's almost like somebody told Jordan Love, here comes the 6-man pressure. Let's all get in position here, guys.
Well, and to your point, you know, it was just 2 years ago when they didn't have the horses at all. And I remember, and it was not a good thing that it happened, but it did happen, that Jack Sanborn and Jaquan Brisker were the guys that were racking up all the sacks. So I only bring that up. Obviously, you don't want to be in that situation, but it's possible, and we've seen Flus do it before, to scheme some other things up, to bring pressure and heat from other places when it isn't working. Obviously, they could use some more help up there up front, Baldy, but I think that's just a kind of a testament that, like, there's just not a lot of creativity going on either.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the year Jaquan led them in sacks with 4. Like, it wasn't anything to brag about, you know, but they did get, you know, Montez. But, if you don't have great pass rushers, and they don't, then you've got to scheme it. You got to scheme your pressure. You got to figure out a way to break. I mean, the whole idea, honestly, of being a good defensive coordinator in this whole industry is to understand what their protection is and attacking the protection. Because once you get Rex Ryan, you sit there in these meetings with Rex. I used to sit with him in Baltimore, and he'd go, like, the whole game is to kill the quarterback. Like, that's how it was just that simple. So how are we getting to him? We coming off the corner, we overloading. If the center's sliding right, we got a back there, we're going to get a back on backer. Like, that's the whole game, is to break down the protections. The good ones, they know what you're doing, and then they attack it. And it doesn't. So, I don't see that.
So, you know, you're saying that they don't really have a game wrecker on the line, but our hope was that Montez Sweat was going to be that guy. Are we just kind of chalking this year up as he's just been playing injured throughout the year, and he certainly has been banged up? But it's, I mean, by, you know, statistical standard, you know, there was a play early in the game where he absolutely trucked, you know, his blocker. So he has the ability, but it's not exactly like he's wrecking games the way Khalil Mack did when we traded for him.
No, Khalil was a wrecker. I mean, he just had unique power, and you could move him around. That was some good defenses right there. Look, you're hoping Austin Booker could come on. He hasn't really done that. Not to be unexpected. He's not Jared Verse, who's, you know, pretty dominant up there with the Rams right now. He's not, Latu in Indianapolis that has the ability to win one-on-ones. So, you know, whether you're going to do twist stunts, overloads, like there's ways to – all you got to do is just get some color flashing at the quarterback and get him moving. Like, you don't actually have to just rush 4 straight and have somebody win. Like, there's other ways. You can run pick stunts. There's ways to get guys free just to get some color, just something at the quarterback to get him off that spot where he can't get comfortable.
Well, I want to get some more of your thoughts on the Vikings and this Vikings team right now. Obviously, the record's really good. Sam Darnold, I think, has come back down to earth a little bit here as of late. But I guess just the question to you is kind of 2 parts. Like, how much are you buying what they've done so far? And is this you saw what the Bears did against the Packers on Sunday. Is this a winnable game for the Bears? Can they get back on track here against the Vikings?
Well, you can't give up the big play. I mean, they've got receivers that can get down the field on you. There was a point early in the year, I'm just seeing if it's still holding true. Like, they have a ridiculous – like, you give Brian Flores a lead, like, it's almost impossible to come back on him. Like, they've scored 82 points in the first quarter this year. So, like, if they've outscored their opponents 130 to, like, 75 in the first half, when they play with the lead and they can really come after you, they're very difficult to beat. And so and then when they can't do that and you're in this slugfest with them and they got to be a little bit more conservative, they can't really afford to give up the big plays that they're capable of, then they're a little bit more beatable. You can run the ball against them at that point when they kind of line up a little bit more normal. But you give Brian Flores a lead, especially the second half, like they're going to come after you every single play, and it's just going to be, can you handle it? Do they force you into mistakes? I think they've got 19 takeaways this year, 18 takeaways. They got a bunch, so they're living off that right now and off their sacks because they got a lot of good pass rushers up there, and they've got whether it's Greenard or Pat Hill or Pat Jones. I'm sorry, Pat Jones. Like some of these guys are pretty good pass rushers.
Baldy, are the Bears using Tremaine Edmonds right?
Well, he's basically your middle linebacker. I mean, he's just a big guy in the middle that runs pretty good. And I don't know what other way you could use him. He's not an off the edge guy. You wouldn't rush him off the edge like some middle linebackers you see. That's not what he's ever done. But he's always been a tough guy to throw over the middle because of his length. Just trying to get the ball over his hands and zone can be a little challenge sometimes. But I mean, one of his strengths is just his length and how much ground he can cover.
Yeah, I'm just looking at $19 million and I'm trying to think of a play like
you're just trying to squeeze more out of it.
Something.
Yeah.
I have an impact. You're one of the highest paid guys on the defense. We rarely hear his name. It's just I don't know. It just feels like a big swing and a lot of miss right there. So I don't know. There's this other guy that used to play here. He leads the league in tackles right now. I think his name is Roquan.
Baldy, where are you headed this weekend?
I'm going to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Going to see the Pack and the 49ers this weekend.
Perfect.
See if the Pack can, put a little pressure on the Lions and everybody else in the NFC North and see if the 49ers can turn things around here because they have not looked very good.
Well, they can't, Baldy, because Kyle Shanahan is finished in San Francisco. So I'm glad you're going there because you can start, planting.
Well, they're not very good. I mean, if they don't have Ayuk or, Bosa goes out in the third quarter and, Kittle didn't play and they didn't have any tight ends that could block and the run game looks stale. I might give that Jordan Mason a few more carries than what he got because he looks like their best back to me.
Well, do me a favor, Baldy. When you're there, just, people really respect your opinion, your football acumen. Just start planting little seeds like, guys, you do better. It's just, you just throw that around.
Do the McCaskey send private planes to go get important people? How do they do that?
You know what?
Well, last time they just flew all three of their executives around on one plane in like 48 hours to 3 different places, and then they came back with Matt Nagy and Matt Eberflus.
Okay.
Yeah,
remember when
that's how they do it.
Remember when they brought Matt Nagy and never mind. Okay, Baldy,
have a trial press conference.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the thing they did with Trestman and Bruce Arians.
Those errors. I remember those days.
Bruce Arians was the reigning coach of the year, but they decided to hire a Canadian Football League coach. Okay, yeah, that's what we're dealing with here, Baldy.
I love and still love Bruce Arians. I always just say to anybody, like that guy can flat out coach, first of all, but you could get Bruce Arians 5 minutes before kick, and he'd tell you a good story or a good joke. That guy was, and I like that in a coach. He was loose with his team. They played loose. They played fast, and he was I don't know. He was the quarterback whisperer in this whole business. He was great with quarterbacks.
Yeah, I have his. Isn't that what the title of his book is? Quarterback Whisperer. I have that book. I believe that's the title of his book.
It is. I didn't know that. I just threw that term out there, but I still love Bruce, man. He was winning games at Temple and North Broad Street, right, not too far from here, when they were stealing his gas cap from him and selling it back to him for $5 at Temple and winning games. Those were some fun days.
Baldy, we appreciate you. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, guys. Yeah, I'll talk to you next week.
We all silly like the mayor.